I never thought my own family would try to steal my car in the middle of the night, but here I am, just a regular 27-year-old guy, nearly losing the one thing I rely on most, all because my pregnant sister thought she had a right to it. My younger sister, Jessie, she is 24 and 7 months pregnant with her first child. We have always gotten along okay, not super close, not bitter enemies either, but we could not be more different. I have always been the type to handle things on my own, while Jessie grew up as the golden child. Our parents babied her like she was royalty. If she wanted something, she got it. All it took was a few tears or a pout, and she would have the world handed to her. I was the one doing chores, helping with the bills, and hearing "you're older, be responsible." I figured we had grown out of that old pattern, but turns out, some habits stick. Now, about my car, it is a 2010 Honda Civic. Nothing flashy, but it is mine. I bought it used right after finishing college, and I worked my butt off to pay it off. I kept up with every oil change, every scheduled maintenance. She runs like a dream. This car means a lot to me. It is dependable, safe, and most importantly, paid off. That matters because I am only working part-time right now. I lost my full-time job last year, and I am still job hunting. Money is tight, and not having a car payment is a huge relief. I need that car for job interviews, grocery runs, and just everyday life. Sure, I am not commuting every day, but that does not mean I can suddenly go without a vehicle. I like knowing I have wheels when I need them. Jessie, on the other hand, is still driving this old Ford our dad gave her back in the day. It is a 2002 model, and honestly, the thing is barely holding together. She is not exactly great at keeping it in shape, so it breaks down all the time. Over the past few months, I have stepped in here and there to help Jessie out. There were times when her car left her stranded and I had to go pick her up. A few other times, I handed her my roadside assistance card so she could get it towed. This was not just a one-time thing, it kept happening. Her car is falling apart, and she is always venting about how it is on its last legs. Our parents? They keep tossing money at it for another temporary fix. And honestly, I do feel bad for her. Especially now that she is pregnant, the idea of her stuck somewhere with no help is a scary one. I would not wish that on anyone, much less my sister. But let us be real, this car has been giving her trouble for years. Everyone knew it was just a matter of time before it gave out for good. I did not cause this. I am not the reason it is breaking down. She and her husband have been doing their best to save up for something better. But with the baby coming soon and hospital bills stacking up, their budget is stretched thin. I get it. I really do. Just because I do not have a family of my own does not mean I am swimming in money. I lost my job, and I am scraping by just like them. Probably even more so. A couple of Sundays back, we were all gathered at my folks' place for dinner like we usually do. Somewhere between dessert and cleaning up, Jessie started complaining again about her car being in the shop. Then, out of nowhere, she looked me straight in the eye and said, "You could just give me your car." I let out a laugh, thinking she was being sarcastic or just blowing off steam. Surely, she was not serious, right? I looked her dead in the eye and said, "No. Just plain and simple." I told her my car was not up for negotiation. But turns out, she was not joking at all, she meant every word. Jessie got all worked up, saying stuff like, No pregnant woman should be driving a car that could break down any minute. She went on about how my Civic would be perfect for getting to appointments and eventually for hauling the baby around. I stood my ground. I told her flat out, that car is mine. I rely on it too. I am not just handing it over. She got all puffed up and annoyed, and then our mom stepped in, trying to back her up. "Sweetie," she said to me, "you barely use your car anymore. You only work part-time and run a few errands here and there. Jessie needs it more than you do." I could not believe it. I told them, it is still mine. I paid for it. Just because someone else needs something does not mean I should be forced to give it up. I said I still need it to get to job interviews, doctor appointments, whatever comes up. The fact that I am not commuting every day does not mean I can go car-free. Then Jessie's husband, Rob, jumped in. He had been quiet through most of dinner, but now he decided to throw his 2 cents in. He said maybe, for the baby's sake, I should reconsider. And then, I kid you not, he offered to let me use Jessie's old clunker when I really needed to go somewhere. That thing barely runs. I could not help it, I laughed. I told him, "Look, I get it, you are in a tough spot, but giving you my only car? That is not going to happen." That is when Jessie started crying. Big, loud, dramatic sobs. She told me I had no idea how scary it was to be pregnant and wondering if your car would make it through the next trip. Then she hit me with, "If you actually cared about your nephew, you would want me to have a safe car to drive him in." And that did it. That line crossed a line for me. She knows she is having a boy, and using that fact to guilt-trip me? That stung. Look, I care about that baby. I do. He is going to be my nephew, after all. But trying to guilt-trip me into giving away the one thing I worked so hard for? That was just over the line. I told Jessie straight up, making sure your kid is safe, that is on you and your husband. If there is an emergency, sure, I will drive you myself or let you use the car for a day. But giving it to you forever? That is not happening. And that is when things really blew up. My mom looked at me like I had just committed a crime. She said I was being selfish. Then she pulled out the whole "you are single and have no kids" argument, saying that Jessie was the one with a growing family and she needed all the help she could get. My dad did not say much, he rarely does, but he was there, sitting with his arms crossed and shaking his head like I had just disappointed the entire family. I tried to explain, calmly this time. I am not being cold here. But this is not like spotting someone $20. You are asking me to give up my car, my only transportation. That is not supporting her, that is putting my life on hold just because she is pregnant. They did not like hearing that. Not one bit. The rest of dinner was awkward as hell. No one looked me in the eye. I finished my food as fast as I could and got out of there with everyone staring at me like I had just run over their dog. I will admit, on the drive home, I started second-guessing myself. Maybe I was being too harsh. Maybe I should have been more understanding. But later that night, I told my best friend what happened, and she immediately said, "No, you are not crazy. That is a ridiculous thing to ask of someone." So I figured, alright, rough family dinner, but it would blow over like most arguments do. Maybe they would cool off and see how unreasonable the whole thing was. But nope, I was wrong. The next Saturday morning, I was sleeping in a bit, finally getting some rest after a long week. Then I was jolted awake by this low rumble outside. Some loud engine. I sat up, half asleep, and peeked out the window. And what do I see? My dad's truck. Parked right in my driveway. And attached to it? A damn car hauler. My heart nearly stopped right there. I threw on the first clothes I could find and rushed outside, my heart racing. And there they were, my mom and dad, standing in my driveway like it was just another Saturday morning. My old man was actually halfway through strapping my Honda onto a car hauler hitched to his pickup. As soon as they saw me come tearing out of the house, yelling, "What in the world are you doing?" they froze. My mom came toward me, palms raised like she was trying to calm down a bear. "Honey, please, let us explain," she started, but I was already pulling my phone out and dialing. I yelled, "Unhook my car right now, or I swear I will call the cops and report this as theft." That got my dad's attention. He stepped forward, hands up, saying, "Come on now, there is no need for police. We are family. Let's just talk this through." I walked right past both of them, straight to my car, where the front tires were already parked way up the metal ramp. They had really tried to load my car while I was asleep. I could not believe it. I dropped to my knees and started tugging at the straps they had fastened around the wheels. I was fuming. My dad backed off a few steps, muttering, "Just relax. We thought this would be less of a fight." I looked over and saw Jessie, my sister, standing near the mailbox, arms crossed like this was just another argument. Then she snapped at me, "We knew you would never agree, so we figured doing it this way would be easier. You're overreacting. I need the car." And that is when I completely lost it. I shouted, "Because it is my car. You are literally trying to steal it from me. Have you all lost your minds?" Then I looked my dad square in the eye and said, "Move your truck. Move it now. Or I will tell the police every single detail." My mom kept trying to explain, saying something like, "We figured if we took the car early, we could sit down with you afterward once things had calmed down." That just made my blood boil. So they had made up their minds that since I would not agree to it, they would just go behind my back and make the decision for me. Like once the car was gone, I would have no choice but to accept it. My dad, realizing the plan was falling apart, threw up his hands and muttered something under his breath about how I was being unreasonable. Then he walked off and climbed into the truck to start it up, clearly ready to leave. But my sister? She was not done. She waddled right up to me, her pregnant belly leading the way, and snapped, "I already told everyone the car was mine. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is for me?" That stopped me cold. Turns out, she had already told her in-laws and all her friends that I had gifted her my car like it was some surprise I was planning for her. And if that was not enough, I also found out that she and my mom had secretly organized her baby shower at my house, without asking me. And during that party, I was supposed to unveil the car as this grand gesture. So not only were they trying to steal my car, they had built an entire event around a lie. I looked her in the eye and said, "You need to call every single person you told and set the record straight. I never said I was giving you my car. And there is no shower happening at my place." She started bawling again, saying I was ruining everything and making her look bad in front of her husband's family. Then she sobbed, "They're going to think I am a liar or that my family does not care about this baby." I just shook my head and told her, well, maybe you should not have lied in the first place. This is your mess. By then, my mom was hovering nearby again, trying to comfort Maya as she cried like the world had ended. My mom gave me a sharp look and said, "Can you not just play along? For your sister's sake? We can figure out the details later. She is under so much stress, and she just needs things to go smoothly." I stared at her in disbelief. No way. I told her, straight up, there was absolutely no chance I was going to stand around smiling while they lied to everyone and made me look like I had gifted away my only car. I was not about to host some party at my house that I never even agreed to in the first place. Just then, my dad honked the horn from the truck like it was time to wrap things up. He looked annoyed, maybe at me, maybe at the whole mess. My mom gave me one last look full of disappointment and said, "We will talk about this later," then guided Maya, who was still crying, into the truck. They finally drove off, without my car, thank God. I just stood there in my driveway, fuming, watching them disappear down the road. I could not believe what had just happened. They seriously tried to steal my car. Like, with a trailer. At sunrise. Later that day, my phone started blowing up with texts from extended family. Apparently, Maya had already spun her version of the story. According to her, she politely asked me for the car and I lost it on her, screamed even, and made her cry. She left my house devastated, poor pregnant victim of the cruel older sibling. Of course, my parents are eating that story up. They are backing her all the way. I keep getting messages about how I am supposed to be there for my sister during this difficult time, how I am overreacting, and that I am selfish for holding on so tightly to just a car. But that is the thing. It is not just a car to me. That Honda is mine. I paid for it with my own money. I took care of it. I rely on it. It is not just about transportation, it is my freedom. My stability. Especially right now, when my finances are already shaky and I am working part-time. What they tried to pull, it was not just unfair. It was betrayal. I am still so angry I can barely think straight. I figured it would not hurt to help out a little. Mom said she needed help moving some baby stuff from the garage to Natalie's car. So I grabbed one of the boxes and followed her outside through the front door. That is when I heard something that stopped me cold, the sound of my car starting up. At first, I thought maybe I was imagining it, but then I looked up and saw my own car slowly backing out of the driveway. Sitting behind the wheel was Natalie. For a second, I was just frozen in place, completely stunned. Then it hit me, she was stealing my damn car. I dropped the box and ran after her, yelling like a lunatic. I must have looked absolutely ridiculous chasing a moving car down the driveway in socks. She rolled the window down and shouted, "Thanks for finally doing the right thing, sis." Then she floored it and disappeared down the street. I just stood there, right in the middle of my parents' front lawn, holding nothing but air and disbelief. Then Mom came running out behind me like she had not just helped orchestrate the whole thing. She was talking fast, trying to calm me down. "Do not worry, sweetheart, this is better for everyone. We will figure out some kind of payment. Please do not be upset." I looked at her like she had lost her mind. "You tricked me into coming here so she could take my car? That is not helping, that is lying. That is stealing." She kept trying to spin it, saying they only did it because the baby needs to be safe and that they would make it up to me eventually. But I had heard enough. I told her, loud and clear, that this was not a misunderstanding, this was flat-out theft. And just because Natalie was pregnant did not mean she could get away with something like this. Mom started crying, saying I was being dramatic and that I should not use words like steal and crime when talking about my own family. She begged me not to call the police. I did not say another word. I just walked away, pulled out my phone, and ordered an Uber. Because guess what? I did not have a car anymore. As soon as I made it back home, I did not waste a second. I grabbed my phone and called the police to report my car stolen. I gave them all the details, my sister's full name, what she looked like, and where she was most likely headed. Then I messaged the entire family group chat and told them straight up this was theft, and unless my car came back immediately, I was pressing charges. No exceptions. Of course, nobody responded. Not a single word. That silence said everything. So, that is where things stood. My own sister, with the help of our mother, had taken off with my car, something I had worked for and relied on, and left me completely stranded. I was sitting there at home, furious and full of anxiety, just waiting for the police to call me with an update. Update 2. Turns out things escalated quicker than I expected. Just a few hours later, everything started to move fast. The police found my car that same night. They caught up with Maya while she was driving it down the highway toward her place. And yes, they pulled her over. From what the officer told me later, Maya immediately tried to flip the story and make herself look like the victim. She told them I had given her the car and claimed it was all just one big misunderstanding. But the registration was in my name, and the stolen vehicle report was already on file. That story did not hold up for a second. They arrested her on the spot. Later that evening, my phone rang with a call from the police. They asked me point blank if I wanted to press charges, and I said yes. It was not an easy decision, knowing that my sister, who was almost ready to give birth, was now in handcuffs made my stomach twist. But I felt I had no choice. She crossed a line, and someone had to draw one in return. The police told me they had taken my car to the impound lot for the night and that I could pick it up the next day. That gave me a bit of relief, for about 5 minutes. Not long after, my phone blew up with call after call from my mother. I ignored the first few, but eventually, I answered and immediately regretted it. She was screaming so loudly I had to hold the phone away from my ear. She was sobbing, shouting, "How could you do this to your own sister? She's pregnant. You are going to stress her into labor. What is wrong with you?" I tried to stay calm. I told her that Maya had stolen my car and that I had made it very clear what would happen if they went behind my back. I reminded her this was not some random accident, this was a choice they made. But she would not listen. She just kept crying and begging me to call the police and tell them it was all a misunderstanding. She wanted me to say I was dropping the charges. I told her flat out, no. I am not doing that. She kept pushing, and I finally had enough. I hung up. I was not about to sit there and be emotionally blackmailed over something they brought on themselves. A couple hours later, my phone rang again, this time from a number I did not recognize. Something in my gut told me who it was. I picked up, and sure enough, it was Maya calling from jail. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Her voice kept jumping from desperate sobbing to full-on yelling. One second she was begging me to have a heart, the next she was accusing me of ruining her life. She kept saying things like, "Please, do not do this to my baby, he needs his mother." Her voice was cracking and full of panic, but I was still boiling inside. I told her straight up that she should have thought about the consequences before pulling a stunt like that. I was not going to act like this was just some mistake. She made a choice. That is when she flipped the script. Suddenly I was the heartless monster, the cruel older sibling who cared more about a car than the life of her unborn child. She went on, saying I was putting my nephew at risk and that I was ruining her future. I did not wait for her to finish. I hung up mid-rant. I had already heard enough. I was done being manipulated and guilt-tripped. A few hours later, just when I thought the worst of the drama was behind me, I heard a knock on my front door. I looked through the peephole. It was my dad. I cracked the door open but left the screen door shut. I was not about to invite him in for coffee. He kept his voice low, calm even. He said he got why I was upset, but he thought getting the police involved was crossing the line. He said the whole situation had spiraled out of control and begged me to help fix it before it did any more damage. He pleaded with me to help get Maya out of trouble, to keep her record clean, to keep things quiet for the baby's sake. He kept repeating that she had learned her lesson and that I had already gotten my car back. "Can't we just move on from this as a family?" he asked. "Just bury the hatchet and let it go?" I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Why are you asking me to let it go now? Why didn't you stop this when she and Mom were sneaking around behind my back? Why did no one stand up for me when it mattered?" He did not have a real answer. He mumbled something about trying to keep the peace in the family. I told him that peace was long gone the moment they decided it was okay to betray me. He sighed and said he hoped I would reconsider. Then he walked back to his truck and drove off. The next morning, I went to the impound lot to get my car. It looked all right, no major damage. Just dusty and almost out of gas. I was not surprised. Later that day, I found out Maya had been bailed out by her husband. I would have been happy just never hearing from her again, but of course, that was not how this story was going to end. That afternoon, I started getting text messages from her number. The tone was completely different than the call from jail. The messages were full of rage, calling me a terrible sister, saying I had betrayed the family, and even warning me to watch my back. Yeah. She really went there. Pretty wild stuff coming from my pregnant sister, though honestly, I would not be surprised if her husband or one of her loudmouth friends was the one typing those messages. Either way, I had enough. I sent a clear message to my entire family: if they want to talk to me from now on, they can go through a lawyer or a third party. I am done being bullied and harassed. I already gave my full statement to the police, and I am sticking to it. Whether or not this turns into a formal case is now up to the prosecutor's office. I did everything I was supposed to do. The whole thing is insane. I never thought things would go this far. But they kept pushing and pushing, and Maya took it to a place I could not ignore. I will update if anything big happens, but for now, I just want this whole mess to be over. At least I got my car back. Small victories. Update 3. Yeah, I really thought that would be the last of it, but nope. I should have known better. My family's ability to make a bad situation worse never fails to amaze me. Just a few days after Maya got out on bail, things took another ridiculous turn. Yesterday afternoon, my sister's husband, let us call him Jared, and some random guy I barely know showed up at my doorstep. I recognized the friend from a few family get-togethers, but I have no idea what his name is. He is just one of those hanger-on types that always seem to be around Jared. They knocked on the front door, and for a split second I thought about just ignoring it. But then I thought, why should I be the one hiding in my own house? So I opened the door and stepped out onto the porch. I shut the door behind me and stood there, arms crossed, waiting for them to start. To my surprise, Jared was calm. His tone was civil, even kind of apologetic. He said, "We all want this drama to end. It is taking a serious toll on Maya, and the stress is not good for her or the baby." I told him I agreed. I want this to end too. And it will once everyone accepts the fact that I am not giving up my car, and I am not going to pretend that what they did was okay. He asked me if we could sit down and talk things over, but I stayed standing with my arms crossed and told him to just say whatever it was he came to say. No point in dragging it out. He started off by saying the whole situation had spiraled out of control. Then he said something about how maybe Maya went a little overboard, but quickly followed it up with, "She just did it because she is scared and wants to keep our baby safe." Then came the same old speech, "Can we meet in the middle? Come up with some kind of solution so Maya and the baby have a dependable car?" I cut him off. I told him plain and simple, their transportation issues are not my burden to carry. I said, "You do not get to steal from family and call it love. There are plenty of folks out there raising kids without stealing from their siblings. They could have done this 100 other ways." I even pointed that out. They never once came to me calmly to ask for help. They never said, "Hey, can we borrow your car for doctor appointments, or could you help us with a down payment on a used car?" No. They skipped all that and went straight to demands, and then straight to flat-out theft. That was when his friend, this guy I barely know, decided to butt in with a smug tone. He said something like, "So what is it going to take to make this right? You want money? You could actually come out ahead on this." I just stared at him, stunned. I could not believe this random dude was standing on my porch trying to negotiate like it was some kind of business deal. Then Jared nodded like it was a serious offer. He said they were willing to pay me for the car. Like, set up a payment plan, $200 a month. $200. For my car. The car they tried to steal from me. Like I am supposed to be grateful they are offering to pay for it in installments. I told them, loud and clear, absolutely not. I am not selling my car. Not for $200 a month. Not for anything. The answer is no. And just in case they did not understand that, it is still no. That guy, the one who came along with my brother-in-law, suddenly turned hostile. He told me I was being selfish and that $200 a month was a more than fair deal for a car that was not even new. I looked him right in the eye and said, "If it is such a great deal, why don't you hand over your own car?" That shut him up for a second, but his face said he was boiling. Then Jared, my sister's husband, started dropping the nice guy act. He got all frustrated and raised his voice. "We are just trying to solve this like adults," he said. You already got Maya arrested. Don't you think that is enough punishment? We are just trying to make sure our baby is safe. Why are you being so stubborn? That pushed me over the edge. I said, you have got a lot of nerve showing up here and calling me stubborn. I am not the one who broke the law. I did not sneak around in the middle of the night trying to take something that does not belong to me. You all forced my hand. I did what I had to do to get my car back. Then I pointed toward the street and said, conversation is over. Get off my property. That same friend of his took a step toward me, like he wanted to intimidate me. He said something like, if anything happens to that baby, it is going to be on you. And I swear, I had to hold myself back from decking him right then and there. I stared at him and said, no. If something goes wrong, that is on every single one of you who turned this into a circus. Now get the hell off my porch. Jared finally pulled him back and muttered, let's just go. But the friend could not help himself, he tossed a final insult over his shoulder. Crazy bitch, he said, before heading for the car. I locked the door behind them and watched through the window to make sure they actually drove away. Then I wrote everything down word for word so I would not forget anything. I also called the non-emergency police line to report what had happened, just to make sure it was on the record. I told my parents too, though I really wish I had not. My mom scolded me, said I was escalating things by threatening to involve the cops again. I told her, plain and simple, I am the one getting threatened on my own doorstep. I am the one being harassed. There is one small upside to all of this. Since Maya is out on bail, one of the conditions is that she is not allowed to contact me directly. So at least I do not have to deal with any more texts or calls from her. Not unless she wants to end up right back behind bars. She deleted the nasty messages she sent right after she got out, but I took screenshots. It is obvious she is getting other people to do her dirty work now. I am tired. Really tired. And I hope, for everyone's sake, that this was the last of it. My sister's due date is just around the corner, only a couple of weeks left. You would think that, at this point, the people involved in creating all this chaos would want to ease the tension for her sake. But no, that would make too much sense. I have done everything I can to protect myself. If they decide to pull any more stunts, I will not think twice about calling the police again. I am honestly just hoping they come to their senses, or at least finally get tired of dragging this thing out. Final update. It has been about 2 months since this whole mess began. And just last week, my nephew was born. You would think that would be the moment where people might set the drama aside and just focus on welcoming a new life into the world. But instead, I got hit with one more passive-aggressive guilt trip. My mom sent out a group email to let everyone know the baby had arrived. Somehow, maybe by accident, maybe on purpose, I was included on the list. It was a baby boy. Along with the email was a little message from Maya tacked on at the bottom. But let us be real, this thing had emotional manipulation written all over it, and it was definitely aimed at me. The message read, Dear Emily, I hope you are satisfied. My baby and I almost died because you made me keep driving that junk heap of a car. I went into labor early from all the stress, and we barely got to the hospital before the car gave out. If anything had happened to my son, it would have been on your conscience. But hey, no worries. We are alive. I will just make sure to let him know someday that his aunt wanted nothing to do with us. So yeah, that was the cherry on top of this whole nightmare. Right alongside pictures of the newborn, I got a personal guilt bomb shoved down my throat. I did not respond. I will not respond. Because no matter what she or my parents think, I never stopped caring. I just reached a point where I had to care about myself too. They broke my trust, they crossed serious boundaries, and they pushed me to a place where legal action was the only option left. I hope my nephew grows up safe, healthy, and happy. But I also hope one day, when he is old enough to hear both sides of the story, he understands that standing your ground does not mean you love someone any less. It just means you finally decided to stop letting people walk all over you. To be honest, I do not even know how much of what she wrote is true. Knowing my sister, there might be a little truth hidden under a mountain of drama and lies. Maybe her old beater really did break down on the way to the hospital, or maybe she made the whole thing up just to make me feel worse. Either way, that message was the last straw. It made one thing crystal clear: no matter how things turned out, even with a healthy baby born, Maya and my mom will always find a way to blame me. They need a villain in this story, and they are determined to make me play the part. Well, I am done with that. I never replied to the email. Instead, I followed up with the police to make sure everything was still moving forward with the charges. I also made the decision to go completely no contact with Maya and my parents, for now, at least. I sent them a message saying I need space for my own mental health, and that I will not accept any more guilt trips, lectures, or harassment. Then I blocked them across the board. The only one I am still on the fence about is my dad. I have not blocked him yet, but he is hanging by a thread. After that, I started getting messages from a few extended family members. Turns out, Maya and my parents had been spreading their own version of events, painting me as some cold-hearted monster who left her pregnant sister out to dry. But once I shared my side of the story, once I told them the part about the car hauler, the garage setup, and the actual theft, yeah, that flipped the switch for a lot of people. One of my aunts was horrified and told me she fully supports what I did. A few cousins even reached out to apologize for judging me too quickly. Funny how the truth works when it finally gets out. As for the case itself, I do not know what will come of it. I gave the police everything I had, my side of the story, the texts, the threats, and now it is up to the prosecutor. Honestly, with a newborn in the picture, I would not be shocked if they cut her a deal or go light on sentencing. That part is out of my hands now. What I can control is this: I have my car back. I have peace in my home again. And I am moving forward. I never wanted this to blow up the way it did. But when someone crosses the line that hard, you cannot just pretend it did not happen. Family or not, if someone treats you like a doormat, it is okay to walk away. And that is exactly what I am doing.